It's the Friday the 10th of October. Top this weir. Almost all the colour has dropped out of it and it's gone down a couple of feet. But I was here on Wednesday. And I'm just coming past this block's got something on there. Looks a fair size, whatever it is. Oh, it's a barbel, is it? Well done. Well, there it is.
It's a small thing, isn't it? There we go.
It's
That was
4:15. It's nice to get them in daylight, isn't it?
yeah, it's not bad.
Well, it's a lovely evening. The clouds cleared and it's now 4:05. So, just come to fish this peg, which every man and his dog knows. Just for a short session. So I've just brought the one barbel on. The river's quite well down. And I've chopped just upstream here on one. Not very big. The barbel's a barbel. And I've got some worms and maggots, see if I can winkle out a decent perch. Well, there we are, 7 o'clock. A nice barbel. A little bit of fin damage on the dorsal fin, but apart from that, just got a little nick out of it there. You can see. That's a nice end to a short session on the River Swale here, topless. Leads tassel water. Lovely. Well, it's just gone 8 o'clock, and that's a lovely way to spend 3 hours. Nice barbel. 7 o'clock. I fished on for another hour, but nothing whatsoever. It's pitch black. So from the Max River Swale here, take care. See you now. Bye bye. Oh, this is Topcliffe. Road to the Mill, Catton Lane, and it will be closed, as it says there, on the 27th of October. One assumes the 28th and 29th as well. It says for 3 days. And it's closed from 8 in the morning to 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Someone assumes you could come down after that and fish from 1800 hours to 2300 hours. A couple from Wakefield having a devil and peg one. There's a block down there been chucking masses of rubble into the river. You get big piles of the stuff. You can hear them working up in the big house there. And he was doing it the other day as well. I'm not sure whether that's allowed or not. It's Saturday the 11th of October. An absolutely stunning day. 15 degrees coming down here. And brilliant sunshine. Wonderful. The river's still well down. It's very quiet. There's only 3 of us here. And, anyway, usual format. Maggots and worms on one rod. Fishing for barbel on the other. Later on I'll give up with the maggots and worms and put the second barbel rod out. See what we can get. A little pike in here somewhere. I've had 2 fish on it when I was pulling them in. It came up from the depths and grabbed them. Never mind. Well, I suppose you're a little fish in mind. It's a beautiful evening. And Robin just beginning its evening sing-song. Oh, just a peel on the rod. Not much movement in the river, but nice reflections. It's been a fabulous afternoon otherwise. Absolutely gorgeous. And I see a little perch on every single one of those, taken by this blue pike in front of me. Nothing you can do about it really. But that's the barbel, no interest whatsoever. So see you then. Take care. Bye bye. This is St Lambert's Church in Burniston, North Yorkshire. And it's one of only two churches dedicated to St Lambert in England. But round the east end of the church is an interesting gravestone which links St Lambert's Burniston through a myriad of routes to Steve McQueen, the actor, more of which later. In the shade at the east end of the church is this grave to a Reverend John Thornycroft Hartley, who was the vicar at this church from 1874 until 1919. Last time I was here it was all a bit wonky and the cross was lying down. It's obviously been repaired since then, which is nice to see. But what was unusual about this chap was he was the third men's singles champion at Wimbledon Tennis Club, lawn tennis championships in 1879, and he retook it, or defended his championship in 1880, losing it in 1881. He lived in the vicarage, a massive house behind that wall you can just see there, huge place. There you can see the little pillars and blocked up gateway, which no doubt he made his way through to give his sermons on Sunday. And also behind that wall, just there, is a large lawn on which he honed his lawn tennis skills way back in the days before motor cars and aeroplanes, although we did have the train. Now what links this place to Steve McQueen is down to the opponent of John Thornycroft Hartley in that first singles match at Wimbledon, a fellow called Vere St Ledger Gould. I'll tell you more about him but if you later. If you can't wait, you can look him up. A great big dragonfly just landed there. huge eyes. Spotted insects on the wing. It's Sunday the 12th of October, and the day can only be described as fabulous. An often overused word, but it's absolutely glorious. But the river is well down, quite slow moving and quite clear, so not expecting anything wildly exciting just yet. So there it is, the river Swale. Hardly a breath of wind at all. Temperature must be, sitting in the sunshine, it must be over 20 or even more. I mean, in the shade it's 17. Well, while we're sitting for these, waiting for these rod ends to go around, a little bit more about this John Thornycroft Hartley. He was the second son of a rich family who'd made the money in business, new money, as opposed to the aristocracy's old money. And they lived in Tong Hall, which his father rented from, or leased from the Earl of Bradford, long since gone. But being the second son, he wasn't likely to inherit very much from the business from his dad. And second sons everywhere, same with families of the aristocracy. The main house and estates and things went to the eldest son. So he has to find someone else to do. Now, most of these second sons, you either joined the army or you became a clergyman. You joined the church, which is what John Hartley did. And having become a clergyman, he then had to find what they called a living. And these were usually granted by rich families, or the old families, to clergymen. And one of the biggest landlords, or richest families in the north of England, were the Barnards, as they are now, but they were, and various names in the past, various honours, one of which was the Duke of Cleveland. And they had this massive estate at Leaming, or Londonderry, and they appointed him as Vicar of St Lambert's in Burniston. In the mid-Victorian era, a new game had appeared called lawn tennis, as opposed to real tennis. Real tennis was played indoors on, I suppose the modern equivalent would be like a squash court, only much bigger. Lawn tennis was played on lawns, as its name would suggest. So to play this game, you needed a big lawn. And big lawns came with big houses. So it was essentially a game for wealthy people. And John Hartley, living at the vicarage in Burniston, had a massive lawn, which he laid out as a tennis court. And he excelled at the game. He was very good at it. But there were no rules and regulations then, you know. The size of the court depended upon the size of your lawn, really. But eventually it was all nailed down. Court size, height of the net, all that kind of thing. A funny scoring system which I've never fully understood. From 15, 30, you'd expect the next score to be 45, but it's 40. And then after 40, you win the game. Or if you're 40 each, it's called deuce. I've never fathomed it out, but there we are. And lawn tennis clubs began to appear, one of which was in southwest London called Wimbledon. And they decided that they were going to have an all-England championship. Anyway, John Thornycroft Hartley decided he would enter this competition in Wimbledon, which of course was very difficult to get to in those days. There were no motor cars in those days. It was horses and trains. So on the day, he gets on his horse at Burniston, clops away to the nearest railway station, which was Thirsk, gets on the train to London, and then from the terminus in London, which I assume would be King's Cross, he then has to make his way to Wimbledon in southwest London, which would be no mean feat. And his opponent was a fella called Vere St Leger de Gould. He was from a rich family in Ireland, and his tennis was based in Dublin. In those days, of course, Ireland was part of the United Kingdom, and it had its own aristocracy, which obviously booted out following the Irish independence. He was a real playboy, a real Jack the Lad. Had plenty of money and lived a high life. So he bowls across from Dublin, and they meet at Wimbledon for the third, I think it was, Wimbledon Lawn Tennis Men's Championship. Now John Thornycroft Hartley, the vicar of Burniston, he hadn't expected to get to the final at all. He hadn't expected to get very far. And he was in a bit of a dilemma, because he had to be in Burniston on a Sunday to make his sermon for the sort of Lord or Lady of the Manor, Newton House. So he had to come back on a Saturday to make this sermon. And having arrived back by train and horse to Burniston, he was called out in the middle of the night to sit by somebody who was dying. So he got next to no sleep at all. So he makes his sermon on a Sunday, and then gets on his horse, claps away to Thirsk, gets on the train, and goes back down to London to play this game against Vere St Leger de Gould. Now Gould was aware that, but Hartley had to go back to Burniston, which of course was on the edge of the world as far as they was concerned, down in London. So he wasn't expecting Hartley to appear for this final. He thought he had it all in the bag. So he'd gone to London for a real night of debauchery. And when he turned up for the final, and Hartley was there, of course, he was absolutely useless. And Hartley beat him and became the third Wimbledon men's champion. And he went down the following year and defended his title. I think it was 1880. So but he went back down in 1881 and lost. There's a fair old trek down there. Anyway, the more interesting bit is what happened to via St Ledger Gould, and more of that in the next episode. It's not a vole, it's a giant chub. An enormous thing. The depth of it. Well, what a wonderful evening. I mean, I thought it was going to be a big fat black, but just as I was packing my bag, it was off. And judging by the take, I thought it was a barbel, but it was absolutely a massive chub. So that's pleasing. So from the Max for Swale here, take care, we'll see you again. Bye bye.